Welcome everybody, my name's Jeff St Laurent and this is the Tuesday live show, and today we're going to be talking about a cold approach to marketing. And as a business owner, our warm market only goes so far, and we'll define what that is if you're not sure what I mean by that. But we're going to talk about how to begin to reach out to people that you don't know and that don't know of you. Because at some point in our business, whether we like it or not, we've got to be able to do that. So I do record all of these live shows and I put them on my website, sellingcoaching.com. I help coaches transition to a full-time business, and I've got a fantastic amount of resources to help you out on your way as a coach starting your business, in terms of the structures and what to do and how to stay focused, how to get yourself out there, the selling skill sets, everything from soup to nuts, so to speak. So check that out in my university. And then right on the homepage of sellingcoaching.com, if you enter your name and email address, you can start there. That's going to get you instant access to a resource I have. It's an audio resource called Launching Your Coaching Business, the First 3 Vital Steps. That's also going to put you in my email community where I have a lot of great information I share on a weekly basis. Also let you know of some of the great programs I offer, like my 14-day GoPro challenge, my 5-month group, my group mentor coaching program, and also my one-on-one stuff that I do as well. So I want to be that resource to really help you transition to a full-time business. One of which today is the topic, which is a cold marketing approach. And let's talk about this a little bit more. So there's our warm market and there's our cold market. A lot of you might have heard something like this before, and you might know what that means. But just in case, your warm market is people that you know. It's people you've already connected with that know of you. Doesn't mean they're your best friend or family member. It just means that you've had some interaction or communication in the past where if you were to email them or reach out to them or call them or see them even, they'd be like, hey, what's up? Or like, oh yeah, didn't we meet? You know, in other words, they know you exist and you know they exist, even if you can't quite place their name. You know, any of that recognition, no matter how strong or weak the relationship is, if there's some, that would be considered warm market. Cold market is obviously, you know, exactly the opposite, is that you see someone, or whether it's virtually or face-to-face, and you don't know them and they don't know you. There's zero relationship whatsoever, and that's our cold market. We've all heard of maybe the word cold calling before, right? Reaching out, and that's just reaching out and calling people that you don't know. And it's probably one of the most least desirable forms of marketing that anyone, you know, most people dislike that, you know, and we don't want to do that in our business. However, at the end of the day, whether you have a fantastically huge warm market, maybe you never have to do any cold market stuff, right? But even if we do have a fantastically large warm market, or I've worked with several people that they don't really have much, if any, of a warm market. I think there's people that they know, but you know, they can go through it very quickly, or it's not something that they can really tap into much because of maybe what they're doing or who they are. So at some point, in other words, in your business, you're going to have to talk to a cold market, meaning talk to people that you don't know, right? In terms of how that approach goes, I'm going to give you some thoughts and tips on this. This is what I really help with in the stuff that I do with my with my one-on-one work with my mentor coaching with my clients and my group stuff, etc. But I'm going to start to just give you a little overview of maybe some tips and pointers on that stuff, because it's going to have to happen, and also start to define that a little bit and start to help you understand too that, like, you might not like it, but at the end of the day, if we're going to be in business and we're going to be in business long term, then we're going to have cold market connections at some point. So very, very important that we understand that. And also, when I say learn to like it or learn to love it, it's finding a way to make it fun, finding a way that it's more interesting for you, finding a way that gets you excited about it. There are ways of doing that, and even just starting to understand that, you know, through a new reach out to someone, as nervous as you might be, or is not quite sure of how you're gonna approach them, etc. When you start doing that more, I found for myself, and just knowing that, gosh, especially seen it played out, I've been in business since 2004, right? So I've done it enough to see how it works out long term. It's more challenging when you've never done it before and you don't know how it's going to work and you start and no one's getting back to you, etc. But having seen it played out before, but even before that, what was exciting for me was is knowing that, or the hope or the thought of saying, well, I could reach out to this person. What if this person was my next client? What if this person was the next door that opened, or that referred me to somebody that led to an event, that led to clients, that led to other opportunities? Because that's how it happens. And you don't know, or you can't predict where they're going to come from. It's just a matter of knowing that, right, if I start to grow my network, if I start to network with other people, start to build relationships, that's what business is. And that's the only thing that we need to do in our business. That's what marketing is, right? It's growing our network, it's building our network, it's getting your message in front of more people, having more people know who you are, know what you do, know what your message is, more people that like you, that like your message, that are willing to share, that are willing to connect. That, in other words, everyone has a warm network. If you've exhausted yours, or you don't have much, if any, of a warm network, how do we get and grow our network? It's through other people, and it's leveraging their warm network, right? So if you know me and you like me, guess what? You have a warm network that is cold to me, but warm to you. So if we make a connection, and then if I start asking for some help or things like that, or you like what I do enough, you're more than likely to refer me and or to share my information or my message with your warm market. Therefore, that starts to become more warm to me, and that's how I start to grow, right? So it takes time, it takes energy, it takes patience, it takes consistency. Those are all words we all know real well, and yes, of course, you'd understand that, but it's very important to understand those things, especially as you start to develop relationships, because relationships just aren't created like that. You just don't build rapport like that. Well, I'll say this, rapport and trust take time to build, yet the fastest way I've found to develop those is actually from seminars and from doing speaking engagements, even virtually or face-to-face. It's a very quick way to leverage that, which is necessary ultimately for business, meaning people that will hire you and work with you and pay you money to do whatever that you do as a coach. Rapport and trust and credibility and respect, all those things must be built. That's a relationship. That can happen. How about this? Quickest that I've happened has been through doing some type of presentation, virtual and or face-to-face. With that being said, as we start to approach, my suggestion is always get to a spot where we're not reaching out as a coach, we're reaching out as a presenter. And I'm doing seminars on these topics, and I'm looking for different places that I can speak at. I'm looking for different groups of people that would be open to having me come in and do a virtual presentation, a virtual webinar, etc., around some of these topics. Are you open for a conversation of what that might look like? Who do you know that's looking for a speaker? Who do you know that has a group that meets on a regular basis that might be open to having someone like myself come in or do a virtual presentation, right? That's it in a nutshell right there, right? That is the communication. That's the reach out. And part of it is it's starting to get a little bit personal and sharing a little bit with who you are. Like you're not a coach. Yeah, well, you are, right? You're in business for yourself, but like, where have you come from? What's your story? What have you gone through that's led you to launching this business and speaking about these topics? And why am I now reaching out to this person? Why am I reaching out to you and asking, hey, here's what I'm doing. I want to speak more. Who do you know who can help? Or maybe I've noticed you have a group, and I noticed that you have, maybe value personal development, or based on what I saw about your company's mission statement, and I thought some of these topics might be valuable for you, and I want to open up a conversation to see if we can connect, find out a little bit more, right? That's the premise of the approach. And so what you're doing is you're doing the opposite of kind of what people do on social media, on like a LinkedIn or a Facebook. Like Facebook, they just send friend requests. And you just get a notification. So-and-so wants to be friends. Okay. And then in LinkedIn, you connect with people. And so you get a little automated thing that says, so-and-so wants to connect with you, blah, blah, blah. Or maybe they write something, right? But it's fairly generic. Or, hey, how are you? something that you don't really respond to, right? And there's different other ways of doing that on different social media platforms. Those are just a couple examples, right? But it's very generic, and it's just kind of a shotgun approach. It's just like they're just connecting with a bunch of new people that they don't know, and it's just like, okay, well, maybe I'll accept your friend request, or maybe I'll connect with you on LinkedIn by just pushing a button. But does that mean we're friends, right? Does that mean that we know each other? Does that mean that we're now connected? Like, okay, now we our networks are connected, but it's still cold, right? Well, how about this? It's one step closer to warm. So my suggestion now is instead of just using that feature, using that, but in a different way, and starting to understand a little bit more in terms about this person. The value of social media is the fact that you can find out a decent amount about somebody just by, in some, obviously people have limitations on what you can and can't see depending on what they set it up, but still you can learn a lot about someone just by visiting their social media platform or platforms, or a company, etc., or a group. And therefore it gives you enough information to formulate an approach that's a little bit more personal, a little bit more direct, as to why you're reaching out. And those are some of the key ingredients that are necessary when we're connecting with someone. It's, you have to ask yourself, if someone's gonna, email or message you that you don't know, what is it that is gonna be there that's gonna make you, number one, want to read it, or most of it, and number two, more importantly, what's gonna make you want to respond? You've got to kind of check that for yourself, right? If you're going to send a message to someone, why would this person, want to read this, and why would they want to respond? Obviously, you can't answer that like 100%. It's different for everybody, but there's got to be a reason there. And so obviously, the more direct we are, the more open we are in terms of why we're reaching out, sharing a little bit of ourselves, humanizing ourselves with a piece of our story, 2-3 sentences at the most, maybe a couple sentences, right? They can understand you and know you a little bit better. You're opening up, being a little vulnerable as well, and you're also being direct in terms of what you're looking for and whatever the ask is. Those are some of the necessary elements that are important to have in our approach, so that someone will actually open it or read it and hopefully get back to you. With that being said, it doesn't mean anyone's going to get back to you, and it might take multiple tries over the course of time, with people. But if there's people or groups or organizations that you really want to get in touch with, it's not just, I'm going to send, an email to somebody and just hope they reply and never do anything again. Maybe you pick up the phone. Maybe you send a message and leave a message. And maybe if they don't get back to you after a week and a half, maybe you follow up with them again and say, hey, listen, I sent you an email. Or maybe you call them up the next week and say, hey, I sent you an email. You probably didn't see it. I'm sure you're a busy guy, girl. But I thought I would reach out to you. I'm really excited to make a connection because of what I noticed and what I'm doing. And I'm sure you're busy, but, would you mind getting back to me either way? If not, no worries. Just being respectful of people's times, but also being consistent and a little bit persistent, because that's how we open up doors. That's how we create connections. And if you know or see some potential with a person or a group, et cetera, remember, we're not reaching out directly for coaching clients. Would you hire me as your coach? It's like, you don't even know the person. I'm saying for speaking engagement, for presentations, that's what we're reaching out for. That's something where if someone, learns a little bit about you and it's a valid message or valid connection where you're sharing a little bit more and you're being specific on what you're looking for. And, would you be open to getting on the phone? Let's connect, let's create, I'm expanding my network. And be honest, you're starting your business. I'm new to this. I'm a little nervous as I reach out to new people. That's why I found the best approaches come from a very authentic space. So I used to say to people like, I just started my business and I'm nervous to reach out to people that I don't know, but I'm so excited about my message. I feel like I can't contain it, and I'm hoping that you get back to me. I'm sure you're busy. I was asking for help all the time. Who do you know? What ideas do you have? Like that's the best approach you can have. And people respect that. And when you have a genuine enthusiasm for your message and you're passionate about something, then people open themselves up to that. And again, not everybody, but if you do it enough and you do it consistently enough over time, you will create results. I always say, like, I can never guarantee results, but I will guarantee that you will get some results if you do this long enough. What they are, in what quantity and volume and frequency, no one can predict that. But I know for a fact, number of you start doing it on a consistent basis, you start tracking it. And in my stuff that I do with my mentor coaching clients, group one-on-one, anything like that, I have them track things. I set some spreadsheets up for them, etc. And monitor that closely, because you've got to start understanding, what you're doing on a consistent basis in order to know if it's going to